This is VOA News. I'm Marissa Melton. Hong Kong's protests saw the first arrests on Sunday under emergency laws that ban protesters from hiding their faces. Reuters' David Doyle reports.
Hong Kong police made their first arrests on Sunday under emergency laws that ban protesters from covering their faces. Those colonial-era powers were invoked by embattled leader Carrie Lam on Friday and bring with them the threat of a year in prison. But rather than quell protests, the prohibition appears to have fueled them. Tens of thousands marched through the Asian financial hub on Sunday in two major protests that remained largely peaceful until police began to try and disperse the crowds. Police said the gatherings were unlawful assemblies and were blocking major roads and ordered protesters to leave. They fired tear gas and baton-charged protesters in several locations. Some of the protesters threw bricks and petrol bombs in response.
That's Reuters' David Doyle reporting. A second whistleblower has come forward about U.S. President Donald Trump's dealings in Ukraine. Mark Zaid, the lawyer representing the person, told ABC News this week that the individual is from the intelligence community, like the first whistleblower, whose complaint regarding a phone call between the United States president and the Ukrainian president triggered an impeachment inquiry into Mr. Trump. Kosovo is electing a new parliament amid calls for its leaders to resume dialogue with Serbia over normalizing ties. Some 1.9 million people were eligible to vote in the polls Sunday to cast their ballots to elect 120 lawmakers. The vote comes after the outgoing prime minister resigned in July following a request from a Hague-based court to question him over crimes against ethnic Serbs during and after the country's war. From Washington, D.C., you're listening to VOA News. President Tayyip Erdogan says Turkish forces will intervene in northern Syria after warning the United States it's done too little to expel its Kurdish allies from the border area. Reuters' Lucy Fielder reports.
Turkey says it's about to launch an air and ground military operation into northern Syria. President Tayyip Erdogan accuses Washington of not doing enough to expel Syrian Kurdish fighters in the area from its border. It will happen today or tomorrow, he says. The US-backed Syrian Democratic Forces have threatened an all-out war in response. US forces are stationed in the area too.
Reuters' Lucy Fielder reporting. Pope Francis urged bishops to boldly shake up the status quo as they chart ways to better care for the Amazon and its indigenous people amid threats from forest fires, development, and what he called ideological ashes of fear. AP correspondent Karen Chavas.
Francis opened a 3-week meeting on preserving the rainforest and ministering to its native people as he fended off attacks from conservatives who are opposed to his ecological agenda. The Pope celebrated an opening mass in St. Peter's Basilica, with global attention newly focused on the forest fires that are devouring the Amazon. The fires set by interests that destroy, like the fire that recently devastated Amazonia, is not the fire of the gospel, Francis said. On hand for the service were indigenous people from several tribes, as well as more than 180 South American cardinals, bishops and priests. Among the most contentious proposals on the agenda is whether married elders could be ordained priests to address the chronic priest shortages in the region. I'm Karen Chamas.
Drummer Ginger Baker of Cream and of Blind Faith has died in a hospital in Britain at age 80. AP music correspondent Margie Zaraletta has a look at his career.
Ginger Baker was explosive in more ways than one. He considered himself a jazz drummer, but many a rock drummer was influenced by Baker's combination of aggression and precision. His drum solos were legendary, and he's often referred to as the first superstar drummer. Cream sold 10 million records with songs like Strange Brew, White Room, and Sunshine of Your Love. Then there was his personality. Baker and Cream singer-bassist Jack Bruce actively hated each other. A 2012 documentary, Beware of Mr. Baker, was named for the sign outside Baker's house in South Africa. I'm Archie Zaraletta.
Police have blocked a march by thousands of people in Pakistani-controlled Kashmir who wanted to move toward the highly militarized line of control that divides the territory between Pakistan and India. The marchers are protesting the lockdown in Indian-administered Kashmir. India administered a strict curfew on August 5th. I'm Marissa Melton. This is VOA News.